I'm Travis Brown, founder and CEO of Mojo Up Marketing and Media. And this is my podcast, where I talk to the most successful Black and brown business executives who've broken through the barriers of today's business culture. Welcome to Mojo Up Live, the diverse and talented podcast. As you know, we bring you the top Black and brown executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, and creatives. Right here today, I have my good friend Jackie Bledsoe, who's an author, a coach, and a speaker. And Jackie, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to hang out with Mojo Up.
So a lot of times when I talk about my friend Jackie, I say he's a real author, and many of us have books, but you have really you had a publishing deal that took you through a whole process.
Yeah.
And so I want to start right there going, so you got a publishing deal from LifeWay,
yeah.
Right? So talk about 7 Rings of Marriage and how that all came about, and kind of unpack that for me.
Yeah. So 7 Rings of Marriage, period. The book itself is really just our story, Stefan, my wife, and I's story. But the connection with LifeWay was a journey to get there. And people always say, did you want to become an author? Did you always want to write a marriage book? It's like, no. It was the furthest thing from my mind. But just the journey that we were on in creating content. And I became this marriage guy online. One thing led to the next. One opportunity opened the door for another. And then LifeWay is knocking on our door. And here we are with the book, with the partnership with LifeWay.
Now we're going to unpack that a little bit as far as the process of having a real publisher, and there's some different nuances about that than self-publishing, like I've done in many cases. But so talk a little bit about give us the overview of what you do professionally, from speaking, coaching, writing, give us that landscape, Jackie.
Yeah. So speaking, of course, is a thing that most people see. That's kind of like the outsting, the big, oh man, that's cool, you're a speaker. So we do a lot of marriage conferences. We partner with organizations like FamilyLife, which we do their events as well. We do our own marriage events. But in addition to that, I also work with, we don't do coaching for couples. Mm-hmm. People ask that all the time. Do you coach couples? Just there's not enough bandwidth to really dig deep like we want to. So we've got a marriage site called Happily Married Couples. That's our brand. Mm-hmm. We have membership courses, different ways that we serve couples through there. But I also help other people just like me who are starting out writing, creating content. Mm-hmm. How do you get connected with a publisher? How do you put yourself in position to get a book publishing deal? How do you launch this? How do you do that? How do you get on stages? So I help people who are similar to me, who are solopreneurs pretty much, and maybe have great content, but they don't know how to get that content in front of the right people, be it they're people that they're trying to serve or people they want to partner with as well.
So when you talk about stages and speaking, obviously, I've done that, for years too. But your path was quite a bit different than mine, because you came from more of a writing perspective, right? So talk about some of the early writing that you did. Blogging was the thing, right, back then. Listen, I'm starting to date you now, boy. By blogging, All Pro Dad. So talk about that journey to get you to kind of where you are.
Yeah, I'm gonna date myself some more, because when I first started to blog, I didn't even know what a blog was. So that lets you know how long ago it was. But no, I actually started online, trying to start a business online. It was a marketing business. Didn't work out. We spent more time setting up the website than we actually were in business. So we had like two clients, literally, and they were friends. So I don't call them customers, I call them favors.
Yeah, favors, right?
Like, we don't want you to have no clients, so we're going to get you at least one client. And so we started there, and then what I found out was through why did I fail? Why did that not work out? And because nobody knew who I was. Like, we had no platform, we had no visibility. And so I started noticing that the people who were successful online had this thing called a blog. I was like, all right, so what's up with this blog? Well, let me start. No writer or anything. So I started to blog, and I really just started a personal development blog, writing about where we were. I had lost a job when I first started the business, failed job, didn't do well in business. Of course, the marriage is impacted by that. And so it's kind of a personal development blog from the standpoint of a husband and a father. And so I started doing a lot of writing and got picked up by a site, said, hey, we're looking for male writers who write about marriage. Would you be interested? I was like, I have no job. I got plenty of time. They're paying. So it started there. Business failed, started there. That just began to open doors. That gave me exposure that I didn't have. Because this site called BMWK, Black and Married with Kids, at the time, and it may still be, was the largest site dedicated for African-American marriage and family on the web.
Really? Privately
owned site. Yep. And so that exposure just opened the door. Now I'm writing for Yahoo. They had a site back in the day called Yahoo Your Tango. writing for All Pro Dad. I'm writing for all these different sites, Huffington Post, a Disney site. And when I say I was writing, like 50 new pieces of content per month.
Wow.
Every month.
And did you love to write? Because like I love to speak, and I can translate that and clean it up. But like if I want to have to sit down, it's painful to sit down and have to try to write that stuff out. Did you actually enjoy writing?
Before I didn't know I did, and it was out of necessity at first. And so I was like, okay, I write and I get paid. And the more I write, the more I get paid. And the more I write and get my content out there, the more people that I get connected with. I started to borrow audiences. And so
which is a key. Borrowing an audience right there. I love that.
It is crucial. And so as I started to do that, I discovered that, well, one, people are getting some value out of my writing. So I figured out I'm all right. I'm all right at this writing thing. Then it started to get easy. Because if you think about it, if you shoot 100 layups a day versus 500 layups a day, the person that shoots 500 layups a day, it's going to be easy. It's going to be like Kyrie Irving out there with the layup package.
Nasty.
Nasty. And so the more I wrote, the better I got and the easier it got. And so it's fun to me. So it got to the point where Jackson, who is now 17, I don't know how old he was at the time, anything that happened, he was like, Dad, are you going to blog about that? Because everything became blog fodder. So I was just writing so much. The skills developed, the confidence developed, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. And so to answer the question, yes, I got to the point where I really, really enjoyed it. Not just for I had to get paid and I got exposure, but it's like, man, I really like the art of writing.
Yeah. So you're writing, you're blogging, you have a marketing mindset background, you're entrepreneurial. So let me ask you this. So how did the call come in that you're like, hey, LifeWay, wants to pay you to write a book? And for those that don't know, like in the self-publishing book world, like, hey, I can write my content, have somebody, clean it up, do it, and then I can go pay a printer. They can print my hardback covers, and I have these books. They ship, 5,000 to your house. You have them. Now, good luck. You go sell them, right? You got your money invested. Self-publishing, but this is a world different when they come to you and say, we see you have an audience, we see you have a talent, we think that we can help you do something special, so we want to pay you to write.
Yeah. So with all that content that I was creating, was growing and borrowing all these audiences, I was also learning from other people as well. One of my mentors, Lamar Tyler with BMWK, but I also had another mentor by the name of Michael Hyatt. And he had a membership site, which was teaching platform building. And so I was a part of that membership site. Within that membership site, he would feature a member every month that they would do basically one-on-one coaching with and redo your platform and kind of focus your brand. So I did that with him within the membership. Several months later, he called me back, or his team called back. It's like, hey, we want to do that again, but we want to do it so we can use it publicly. And so they did that publicly, and I was featured in his launch video. So if anybody's familiar with launch videos, 3 or 4 series of videos over a week or two to promote some kind of offer. So I was featured in that. I was the case study. And so I didn't know it, but someone in his audience was Tom Rainer, Dr. Tom Rainer, who at the time was the CEO of LifeWay. So he saw those videos. He went to my site. He saw my writing. He saw me on video, and their team reached out to me. His executive assistant reached out, and that's where it started. And they didn't know I had a book idea. At that time, I had already written about the 7 rings of marriage, and I knew it would be a book, but I didn't know when, and I had basically this forced me to do it. So he's like, all right, I shared this idea, just like, okay, tell me some stuff about what you've written. Share that idea, and he's like, boom, that's it right there. So the process for them, I learned later, was going to be, they were going to groom me, have me writing for some of their magazines and create or curate an idea for a book out of that, because they wanted to publish me, whatever it was. But since I had the idea, it shortcutted the process. So now, like within 30 days of that meeting, I've got a book deal from them, and it turned into 2 because I had to write a proposal, which is part of the traditional publishing process. And then that proposal, I mentioned doing a course. And so they basically said, we'll publish the book and we'll do your course as a Bible study. So I got 2 for 1 on that deal. But the typical process for publishing traditional is you try to find a literary agent, you pitch an idea to them. It may be in the form of a book proposal. Now, if they accept it, now you sign with them. They shop it to different publishing houses, and now you're looking for an acquisitions editor to purchase it. So I skipped all of that because I was working with or getting mentored pretty much by the CEO of LifeWay at the time. And I don't know if I should share this, but I'm gonna share it because this is where I was. I didn't know who Dr. Tom Rainer was when they reached out. I was like, who is this? I had to Google him, and I was like, oh, this is big.
This
is pretty big. So, but that process, everything that I did to get to that point, even if I didn't get that shortcut, I was still setting the table and the foundation for me to get a traditional publishing deal, basically from what I learned from my mentor, Michael Hyatt.
Which is awesome. So right there on my shelf right there, my third book, Platform Selling, or Platform from Michael Hyatt. So one of my favorite books. I think what is crazy about this story for me was when we met, you were getting ready to go through this process to write, this book. We were in a Bible study together. And I remember it was so cool because then we featured, obviously, with our small group. Your class, you got to kind of teach it and walk through it. And so we got a chance to kind of see it, all unfold. And I thought that was super powerful. So now we start to move into, now we've wrote a book and we have a Bible study. And so now we have some speaking opportunities that really start to leverage from that. Talk about that transition into speaking. And I think I understand that you were excited about that, but the other party wasn't.
Yeah. So my wife, Stefana, was definitely not excited about speaking, but she has grown into the role. But that started with the LifeWay relationship. We signed the book deal. And there was a marriage conference that we were attending every year as just attendees. And that was like our conference. We went there to get every year, same time of year, to get refreshed, pour into our marriage. And so when we got the book deal, LifeWay first put us on their speaking team. So they had a marriage speaking team back then that they did marriage events. And so that was going to be our first one. But before that, I was like, man, I can't step on a LifeWay stage, and we've never stepped on a stage together. So I pitched the conference that we were going to. It was like, hey, we got this book deal with LifeWay and 7 Rings of Marriage coming out. Could we do a talk? So they gave us a breakout. We had about 7 to 10 people in there. I don't know what it was in there, but
enough to know this is a good practice session.
Right. Really good practice session, because when we got in there, I was using the app, my favorite app, I still love it, Evernote. And we were trying to sync our stuff back and forth, and somehow I messed up the sync. So literally, as people were walking into the room, we lost half of our notes. And so we were looking at each other like, what are we going to do? But we gave that talk, and what we do is, like, at that point we knew we couldn't rely on us, and so this is where our faith comes in. It's like, this is on him. He called us to this thing to speak and minister to couples, so he'll bring it through. And that session went great. So they invited us back the next year. But that started getting us in our feet wet, working with that organization, that church, those churches, LifeWay. And then when the book started to get published by LifeWay, then that's when the floodgates started open. And then all kinds of churches were calling us. Basically, we were getting booked at churches because they saw us publishing a book with LifeWay, because at a Bible study, one time we were going to record the videos for the Bible study. This was kind of a surreal moment. And everything that could have gone, you travel. So travel stuff can be up and down. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. My luggage got lost, so I'm literally in an all pro dad hoodie, black sweatpants, and we're shooting when we arrive in Nashville with LifeWay the next morning at 8 a.m. And so I'm literally like, babe, this is not for us. I'm ready to quit. I was feeling inadequate, and we're sitting having an airport layover food, and we're sitting next to this lady. In the airport, when you eat, everybody's close to each other. You kind of got to share tables, but you don't always mingle. And so after we got done eating, we spoke to the lady that was sitting next to us, and we finally started the conversation. So I shared my name with her when we introduced, and she's like, wait, what's your name? So I'm like, yeah, Jackie Bledsoe, blah, 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 whatever. What do you do? And she's like, hold on. Start scrolling. She said, my small group in Washington, the state of Washington, is getting ready to go through your book as a Bible study. It hadn't been released yet. And so here I am, literally like ready to quit. Like, babe, I don't even want to finish the trip. We're not going to be ready. We weren't prepared like we wanted to. And then just that little seed right there, it's like, okay, look, people are needing it, people are wanting it, and it's out there for you. But stuff like that, and then we continue to speak and continue to work on it in that craft and learn how to present better. And then now we're connected with organizations like FamilyLife.
And for people that haven't actually read your book, it's a faith-based book for marriages, rooted in some spiritual principles. And one thing I know about this is that if you've never spoke on stage with your wife, you need some spiritual principles. And my wife is a phenomenal speaker. She's the one-take person in videos. So she's awesome. Obviously, I've done all the speeches I've done. But as soon as we come together, and we in our early age of trying to speak together, it was just tough because I had my style, my preparation, she had hers. And it was so clunky. And it caused so much tension. And both you, Stefan, and I, and Bree and I, we hosted our Heartland Church. We're host, and even when we first started, it's a 3-minute thing on stage, but it's
Right.
like, okay, am I saying this? Or are you
Right.
saying this? Who's introducing ourselves?
Right.
Is it Travis or Bree Brown? Is it Bree and Travis? Like, you're going through all these things with
Yeah.
your wife. And, and Bree was always comfortable when herself speaking, but I know for Stefana, it was like speaking's Jackie's thing.
Yeah.
And now she's kind of been thrust in this limelight a little bit
Yeah.
to have to speak. Talk about her curve a little bit to go from, I ain't doing it,
Right.
to, okay, I'll try it, to
Right.
this ain't for us, to, now, and even now where
Yeah.
she is in this journey.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it used to be really, really stressful for both of us. And then, we, on the way there, I don't know if it's due to the stress or whatever, we have some issues just within the marriage on the way to an event. And then we got better at that. Then in the middle of the event, we had issues, not on stage, but like behind the scenes.
Right.
Get back from the event, stuff falls out. So there was a phase, just different phases that we went through. And she wasn't very comfortable. One, we prepared completely different. I am more of getting stuff on the fly. She has to really have it prepared out and laid out. So we were just headbutting in all different types of areas. And then she finally, not finally, but she started to learn. I started to learn too as well. Because there was things that I did on stage that made her uncomfortable.
I can work on your words right now.
Yeah. Like, wait, hold on. She's going to see this. She's going to listen to this. But no, one of the things that I learned about myself, this is a principle from the book. It's called the discovering, where we learn about each other. Once you get married, you start discovering different things about each other. But the biggest discovery is about yourself. And so as we were interacting on stage, one of my really bad habits that I had was I would repeat what she would say. So in our family life world, when our speakers, we talk about the spike. Somebody sets, somebody spikes. So she would have a really good statement, and that would be the spike. Well, I would spike it again by repeating it. And so I didn't even notice it. And then she brought it up later, and then I started watching when we got a chance to see game film, what I call. And I was like, wow.
She's like, do you just want to do this yourself?
She said those exact words. She said, you can do it yourself because you're saying exactly what I'm saying. So that was a big lesson. And then we've started to grow and learn, and with the organization we're working with a lot more now as FamilyLife, is we have coaches that work with us as well. And so they're giving us pointers. They're seeing it from a third perspective that is not as tied to it like we are. So there's not feelings involved in it. But I think that both of us have grown. And I think she's starting to find out where her sweet spots are, which are different than mine. So she's more of the endearing one. And so the crowd is kind of like, when she starts speaking, it's like, and you just get this different vibe over it.
I see that.
And so when I speak, it's like, I'm speaking fast, I'm high energy. But that mix of each other, those opposites, I think we're starting to grow and to become more mature in the area. But we're never going to get to that point where we're like, oh, we're here. We've arrived. We're going to continue to grow.
So let me ask you this. I don't know if I've told you this, but I feel a little bit of a calling or a conversation or a spirit saying Bree and I should do some stuff in the marriage space.
Yeah.
But I got scared because I felt like, in our 11 years of marriage, like there's been a lot of rough patches, and rough patches all around, what you bring into a marriage from a baggage perspective, both of us, right? We've both been married before. I had a child. So we're bringing that. She didn't have any kids at the time. Now we have 2 kids, together. Yeah. And so like we have all these things, I think the first year we got engaged, then we got married. We had a baby. Wow. She changed a job, and we moved, and we built a house.
Wow, those are all issues that can cause separate.
Right? They say
all
don't
by themselves.
Don't do all that, right? And so, like, we've had a lot of rockiness to our beautiful marriage, and it's great where it is today because we went through all that. I say that I start thinking, man, if we write a book, especially a Christian book about marriage, I don't want the attack. I know the devil's coming, right? Yeah. I know the spiritual attack's coming. I don't even want to subject myself to that, right? Yeah. Did you have that thought like before, during, once it started to happen, or did it take afterwards going, oh man, that's what was happening to us?
Did I have the feeling that the attacks were coming, or the fear of not stepping out there because of the attacks? Well, I'll say the fear of not stepping out there because of the attacks was one. And I remember this is in the process of writing the book. And there were certain stories and things that I felt should be in there. But I was like, I don't know if I want to be that open and that transparent. And this has been our mantra, our MO pretty much throughout Stefana and myself. And I was like, okay, if God is calling me to serve in this way and to minister to people in this way, to help people in this way, then I can't say no when he's asking me to share something. And so I shared it. And one of the overriding themes that we receive as far as feedback is like, you guys are so transparent, so real. We feel basically they're in our shoes. It's like most people say, okay, we've been to these events and we feel like we're being talked down on, especially the men when you go to a marriage conference. Men initially get that anxiety. It's like, I don't want to go and be made felt like this because they're blah, 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 and you're not doing this, and you're not doing that. But we were open about our mistakes and embarrassing mistakes and challenges. And even in real time, it's like we're on stage now. We just got into an argument on the way here. It's hard enough coming to an event when you're attending and you're arguing on the way. But what about when you're coming to speak and you're arguing on the way?
Right.
So that was something that initially was like, okay, no. But then once we said yes, that's the floodgates. We're going to say yes whenever he asks us. And, if he doesn't, we got to have a conversation if we don't say yes, we got to have a conversation with each other. But there have been challenges, and I think some of them are because of what we do.
So real quick, what are the rings? And then what's the if there's one, I'm sure you love them, all 7 of them. Yeah. But if there's one that you like to make sure that people hear or know of, for people that are not familiar with it.
Yeah. So the first ring is the engagement ring.
Okay.
And so that is, of course, obvious. The next ring is the wedding ring. And if you want to stop and ask me, elaborate, I will. Okay. The next ring is the discovering. And then you go to the persevering.
Oh, what's that?
That is basically where that's conflict. That's where I always say that's the 4th ring. It's right in the middle. And this is where couples choose to go left or right. Stay in the marriage, get out of the marriage, or stay in the marriage, but resolve to be unhappy in the marriage. So that's like the fork in the road.
Okay, so persevere.
Yep. Then we go to the restoring. So guys, you go through some issues, you got to put the pieces back together. Broken hearts, broken issues, whatever it is in your marriage. Now it's time to restore that. And then once we get there, now we're at the prospering, where, okay, marriage is great, not problem free, but we have a different perspective about what our marriage is and what we've been through. Yeah. And then like in anything else, when you get to that point where you've kind of mastered it or had some success with it, now you turn around and help someone else. So that's the mentoring. And so that, I would say, as far as if I chose 1 or 2 rings, I would say the first ring, the engagement ring, and that's where I suggest, because this is really pre-marriage, really. It's where you're getting to know each other. You haven't officially tied a knot like in a wedding ring, but that's where it's important to really set a foundation on something. For us, it's our relationship with Jesus Christ. So we both have that foundation, so we come together. And then last, I would say, is the mentoring. That's where you got to turn and help somebody else, whether that starts with your kids, and both of those change the game for us. So when we got the biblical principles of how to have marriage, of the person who created it. And then when we realized our marriage is bigger than us and we got to turn around and help other people, those were 2 big points in our marriage that helped to propel us and help us keep us together.
I think it's exciting hearing you say this because it's been, since you originally released it, since I went through it, and I feel like we were at a different place then than we are now. Yeah. Because we're probably in that the last 2 rings now, where now we still have conflict, we still have challenges, but we know how to handle them differently because we've discovered, we understand where they're, and we still have some of those issues, but we're also in a spot where now it's a blessing because we're helping other marriages and having other conversation through that transparency, through those conversations and through some of those things. So I'm excited to actually go back now and just to go back and re-experience that. I had a cool experience one day though. I opened my Bible app. And I click on it and I see you pop up and you give a verse of the day through was it YouVersion? YouVersion. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, man, that is just first it's humbling. Because that app,
millions of people.
I think it's over 500 million users on the app now.
Wow,
that's crazy. So it's a blessing to be able to do that. And it started first with the book, The 7 Rings of Marriage. So we partnered with them through LifeWay back then, 2016 actually, to write a devotional, which they call Bible plans, 5-day devotional based on the 7 Rings of Marriage.
It's one of the few I've actually finished on there.
Yeah, so we did that. That started it. Fast forward, I think it was 2020 maybe might have been 2021. And then I'm creating more content and doing a lot more, stuff with churches and things like that. And I wanted to write some more Bible plans, and I started to notice those verses of the day videos that you saw, and I really liked them. And actually, I saw a friend of mine who was on there, and I was like, oh, she's on the app. So it basically let me know, it's like, well, I could be on the app as well, because we kind of do some of the same stuff. I'm not, she wasn't a famous singer, pastor, something like that. Just someone who's serving and teaching the Bible. And so I reached back out to YouVersion. And I teach people how. I teach the people like me how to borrow audiences. So I used some of my principles and reached out to them, reestablished that connection, and found out what was available. And because I was a former, or actually an active partner with my first Bible plan, then I was already in the loop because they were no longer accepting any new content creators for plan or for videos, for rest of the day videos. And so started there. And so started learning how to utilize it, what to do, and now I do it on a regular basis. I just recorded one yesterday. And
do they tell you when it's coming out?
They do. So they tell us when they're coming out. So basically right now I do about 4 a year. Okay. And I'll record them several months in advance. So I just had a Bible plan in December, one in January go live. Just recorded this next one, which will go live in April. I have one in basically every 3 months.
Okay, that's cool.
But the process, I record them on my own, and you've probably been here before recording. There were so many errors with the video. So I got done with the video. I had 3 or 4 that I was really comfortable with that I was going to tweak and use. First one, the video just cut off in the middle of it. I don't know why, so I lost it. The next one's great. Right in the middle of it, there's some ticking, like some feedback. So just all kinds of issues. So I basically spent 2.5 days recording a 2-minute video because of all that. So
well, I got to get you on the Mojo Up hot seat here in a minute. But I want to ask you, we got one other life-changing event, and kind of give the short version of this. But you actually had a heart attack.
Yep.
And talk about that, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah. So Thanksgiving night, 2018, at the ripe young age of 43, healthy. I looked exactly the way I was. I was actually pretty active at the time. Had what they call a widowmaker heart attack. And so widowmaker, by obvious name, is most people don't make it. And so I remember, and we didn't know what was going on. It was just, out of the blue. But there probably not time to go into it, but circumstances, so many people in the right place that when you have a widowmaker, you have minutes. There's a certain amount of minutes that if you don't get help and find the problem and get it rectified, then you're gone. And so, but great people were in the right place, but had that heart attack. And at first it changed life. So when I came out of the heart attack, my heart was functioning about half of the percentage of the way it should be. And so I couldn't walk across the house without getting winded. First time out of the house, I went to Target and I had to sit down. I was like, babe, I can't go no more. And so we thought, like life was completely changing. I couldn't lift more than 5 or 10 pounds at the time. They wouldn't allow me to. Stefana had to just step up and take over everything. I was coaching 35 different basketball and baseball teams. So I had to drop that. Friends were showing up, going to games. But, of course, the health of the heart, and there was nothing that pointed to it. So the biggest thing was hereditary. So now how do I change that? But what it did was just really look at my heart, not physically, but spiritually as well. As like, man, where's my heart at? And so that's something I think since then I've been really working on, but also perspective. Problems that used to be major, it's all good.
You're like, I survived widowmaker.
It's all good. Yeah, so that's the biggest thing I think that I came out of from the heart attack.
So we have this thing called the Mojo Up hot seat, rapid fire questions, and then we'll end it with a final question for you, Jackie. But here we go. Favorite place to vacation?
Grand Cayman.
Coolest city you've ever been to?
Ooh, coolest city I've ever been to. I'm going to go back to Cayman.
Favorite homemade meal?
Anything my wife cooks, but she just most recently cooked spaghetti, so I'm going to roll with that.
Favorite restaurant?
Oh, man. I'm Chick-fil-A. We eat there more than anything.
A favorite Jordan number, like shoe number, like 1 through 12.
I think I like the ones.
The ones.
Yeah.
All right, he's rocking the ones today. A brand that you love outside of Nike.
Outside of Nike, I cannot say Jordan brand now. A brand that I like outside of Nike. Wow, it's good. It's a good
God
question.
is dope brand.
I do like the God is dope brand. I do like that.
Favorite sports team?
I'm gonna go with my roots. Grew up as a Bulls fan.
Okay.
It's my all-time favorite.
Richmond Red Devils, I thought might have got a set. Might have got a shout out there, right? Favorite NBA player of all time for you?
It's going Jordan.
Last show or one of the shows that you've recently binged watched?
Oh man, I'm watching it now. I love it. The Chosen. I love it. I knew it was out. Didn't watch it. Some friends turned us on. I can't get enough of it. I'm trying to get the whole family to watch, but they stopped watching, so I keep watching. Anyway.
A movie that has been impactful some point in time in your life?
I really liked, I can't think of the name of it now, Will Smith's movie with his son Jaden, where they were homeless.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. Yep.
Favorite type of music?
Hip hop.
Hype song?
My hype song. I don't think I have a hype song right now.
If you're going in front of 30,000 people in an audience, you had one song they're going to play, and language didn't matter.
Let me go with this. And this is going to pull for my kids because it's Joshua's walk-up music. I love Andy Mineo's music, Coming In Hot.
Okay. Nonprofit you love to support?
Nonprofit that I love to support. My church. Did that work?
Yeah. These are your answers, man. So, final question. So, Jackie, there is going to come a point in time when you have a number, a dash, and a number on a tombstone, and they're going to be talking about Jackie Bledsoe.
Yeah.
What is it that you want them to say?
Wow. That he gave whatever he had to serve people and make other people better.
We've known each other for I don't know how many years now. I've seen the journey, the book, the writing, the speaking, the couple stuff, what we do at church now.
Yeah.
You as a father, which we didn't get to talk about today, with your sons that hoop and play. I know all those things to be true, man. And I appreciate calling you a friend. So thanks for stopping by. Give you a chance to, you get to do the,
I get to do it.
You get to slap to do that. It's a wrap.
It is a wrap.